Sergio lay in the ditch, his head spinning and a dull ache throbbing in his temples. Above him, through the intertwined branches of the trees, the sky was beginning to turn orange, a sign that the day was now ending. He was confused, terrified, and the evening chill was creeping into his bones, making his situation even more desperate. That day, which had begun like so many others, had taken a terrible turn, and Sergio found himself facing a cruel fate, alone, in a forest that seemed ready to swallow him. Before discovering this incredible story, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you don't miss the next adventures. Enjoy! Sergio had always been a lively boy, with an innate curiosity that pushed him to explore the world around him. Born and raised in a small village in the mountains of Trentino, he spent his childhood playing in the woods and listening to the stories of the village elders. These stories often featured wolves, majestic and mysterious creatures that inhabited the nearby forest. As fascinated as Sergio was by these tales, he never forgot the warnings of the adults. Wolves are dangerous, never go near them. However, his curiosity and resourcefulness often led him to challenge the rules. One afternoon, while walking home from school, he was attracted by a faint noise coming from the bushes along the path. As he approached, he discovered a wolf cub trapped in a ditch, desperately trying to free itself. Without hesitation, he gently pulled him out, holding him close. But the tender moment was interrupted by the appearance of a pack of wolves. Sergio was paralyzed with fear, fearing the worst. Unexpectedly, the puppy began to lick Sergio's face, calming the pack, who relaxed and retreated. Relieved, Sergio let go of the puppy, who returned to his family in the heart of the forest. That day remained etched in Sergio's memory, a memory that accompanied him throughout his adolescence. As he grew older, his life took a different direction, away from adventures in the woods. He graduated with excellent grades and found a good job in the city, an hour by train from his hometown. Life seemed to smile on him. He had a stable job, plans for the future, and above all, he had found love in Clara, a sweet and caring girl who lived not far from him. Every day, on his way home from work, Sergio stopped by Clara, bringing her a small gift, a habit he had acquired since the early days of their love. It was a ritual that strengthened their bond and made both their hearts beat every time they met. But that afternoon, everything changed. Sergio was on the train, tired but happy, with a bag of sweets for Clara in his hands. While he was absent-mindedly playing with his cell phone, he didn't notice the two men sitting nearby who were staring at him insistently, tempted to take his money and phone away. And the carriage was almost empty, and the feeling of safety he had always felt quickly turned to fear. Suddenly, one of the two men grabbed his phone, tearing it away with a quick and violent gesture. Sergio looked up, incredulous, but it was already too late. The two grabbed him forcefully, dragged him along the corridor of the train, and with a sharp blow, opened a broken door, throwing him out into the void. Sergio rolled down a slope, his body hitting rocks and roots until he ended up in a ditch. The pain was unbearable, and the knowledge that he had been abandoned to die in the middle of the forest paralyzed him. His mind flashed back to the memory of the wolf cub he had saved years ago. He had always thought that moment had marked a special bond with nature, but now he wondered if that bond would be enough to save him. As the darkness grew deeper and his fear turned to desperation, Sergio heard a familiar noise. He looked up and saw at the top of the ditch a large wolf. His heart skipped a beat. Terror gripped him, but something in the way the animal looked at him made him doubt that it was there to harm him. The wolf sniffed the air, then turned and disappeared into the trees. Sergio, exhausted, closed his eyes, convinced that he would never see the light of day again. If you like the story, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more exciting adventures. Thank you so much for your support. But it wasn't over yet. That wolf had recognized Sergio. The hat Sergio was wearing still had the smell of that distant day when he had saved a puppy in difficulty, and that puppy, now grown up, had not forgotten. The wolf ran toward the village, guided by instinct and an unbreakable bond. Arriving in front of Clara's house, he began to make noise, knocking over vases and howling loudly, attracting her attention. Clara, frightened at first, recognized something familiar in the wolf. When she saw Sergio's hat in its jaws, her blood ran cold. She took courage, left the house and decided to follow the animal, certain that it was leading her to Sergio. The wolf carried her through the woods to the ditch where Sergio lay helpless. When Clara saw her beloved in that condition, her heart broke, but she knew there was no time to despair. She immediately called for help, which arrived shortly thereafter. Thanks to the wolf and Clara's courage, Sergio was rescued, wounded, but alive. He told the rescuers everything that had happened, describing the men who had attacked and robbed him. Shortly after, the police managed to track them down and arrest them, putting an end to their wave of violence. As Sergio was carried away on a stretcher, he turned to look at the forest. He knew that hidden among the trees was his savior, the same wolf he had saved years before.